What's going on, creators? Yeah, just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to talk a little bit about using difficult situations and circumstances to expand and grow instead of drifting into deeper and deeper states of unconsciousness and misery. You know, and it's easy to start to do that when you become more and more mindful of your thoughts and realizing, for one, that you aren't the thoughts, but you are the observer of the thoughts. So when they start to come in with these different kind of worst case scenarios, what if, kind of like negative imaginings of like, oh, what if this disease progresses and and I have to watch them become more and more feeble, and what if. I know I experience that a lot, when it comes to, people that maybe are dying, not, having some sort of disease, ailment, something, like I play guitar, like the church I go to, and I get like these text messages like daily of like, oh, this person slipped and fell and is in the hospital. Oh, this person had a seizure, they're in the hospital. Oh, he just had surgery, they just died, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's all the time, I get this shit, and it's like my first like reaction is like to want to try to change the situation, which I'm starting to realize is kind of a stumbling block, because it's like the more that you're that by saying I'm talking about what I'm doing, but like the more I'm like wanting to control and like, oh, I want to fix them, I want to make them better, it's getting this idea. It's an unconscious assumption that things are playing out in a way that I need to do it versus trusting that God's going to do it. And that stumbling block is a way I've noticed where I just keep getting the same bullshit pattern over and over again, the cycle, cyclical thing coming up over and over again, wanting to try to control, wanting to try to force, wanting to try to manipulate, trying to impart my will onto the situation. And when that happens, I'm not saying that that is even necessarily a bad thing, but one of the key ingredients to like the law of assumption is missing in that kind of mindset. And so whenever you find yourself, starting to become reactive, like, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to change this, I gotta help, this situation, I gotta do, I'm not saying don't take inspired actions, use discernment, but when it's a chronic mindset issue is more of the issue. It's just like, it's one thing if you see a child fall down, it's like, well, I gotta do, I'll just let them just sit there and cry and whine and do nothing. That's not what I'm saying, but like, what I am saying is constantly trying to control the situation, trying to control the outcome of the external reality, trying to do that versus trusting that God within you does the work. And that's a big change, and kind of to unlock that creates a state that you can only really achieve through trusting that God does the work, and that's gratitude. Because without reminding yourself the importance of gratitude, and it's something I've been saying for years, been trying to put to practice more and more so, but it's easy to drift back into the old slave mind of like bitterness, or just feeling like alone, or feeling powerless, or feeling like the worst case scenarios are just what I got to deal with in life, so I got to just deal with the continuous hell, the hell kind of fucking just situations, and I just got to process those and deal with these things. But in those situations, a lot of times, if you're not mindful, it makes you more and more unconscious, so you get more and more bitter, more and more fucking angry, more and more fearful ultimately, and more under the spell of believing that you're separate and that separation's real. And so gratitude starts to become the game changer as you realize, it's not you, the ego, the persona, and the brain and the body person, that does the work. It's God that does the work and is always doing the work. And in that acknowledgement that that God does the work comes more and more gratitude. Because if you're constantly just like, oh, I gotta do, I gotta control, I gotta manipulate, it's fucking exhausting. And it doesn't feel good to do that. It just feels draining. It feels like all these things are just vamping your energy all the time when you're trying to control and manipulate and do this and do that. And you think you're putting God outside of yourself as like, man, maybe this will happen, maybe it won't. But when you take the teachings of Jesus and put them to practice, when he says, anything that you ask for, believe that you've received it and it's yours. One of the key components in the belief is the gratitude of how you would feel when what you're actually desiring, which is in many ways just love, peace, joy. A lot of the things that we want to have manifested are because we think it will give us peace if things play out this way. So for example, it's like, I was like, been dealing with a lot of drama with my dog and her health and everything, and really feel like there's been a move in a positive direction with that, but like, there's lots of like stories of like, well, if you euthanize, that will stop the suffering and they'll be at peace. So it's like this idea from the world. I feel like is this idea that death brings peace. Instead of realizing that there's other ways that you can just choose peace, and as you choose to be peace, you'll start seeing that being reflected back to you as you embody the state of peace. It's something that you put into practice through testing yourself. So just like, don't take my word for it. Take this as, okay, that's a hypothesis that I can test for myself, and that's the only way you ever truly know and truly get out of this spell of needing this intermediary out here between you and your creator, which is within you, and the teacher is within you. So it's just like, you already know these things, but sometimes it's faith building to hear it externalized outside of yourself, so you can resonate with it, feel that resonation in your, I don't know if resonation is even a word, but you feel it resonating inside your inner being, but like, so when you get more and more, in these cycles of wanting to control, wanting to manipulate, it's like, healing is a great example of that, because it's like, you keep praying and praying and praying for healing, or it's like, oh, you're praying that this person's not going to die, whatever it is. It's a pretty intense time when that's going on, but instead of like doubling down on fear and like praying to an external, I'll never, some being in the clouds somewhere or something, it's like, how would you feel if that person was healed? You'd be thankful, you'd be grateful, so it's like getting that gratitude in your consciousness in the here and now is really important to shift out of the negative spiraling, because what you resist persists. And so if you're not focused on the gratitude of how you would feel to see the recovery, to have another day with this person, to whatever it happens to be, you just be stuck in maybe anger, just and the problem is when you fall into these slave mind states, it has a negative kind of correlation, because it's like, you're not overflowing, the energy within you is constricting, and then the mental stories that you're telling yourself is like worst case fear. And then those have a tendency to be, and then if you believe them, then those have a tendency to then start being mirrored back to you, and then you believe it even more, and you start doubling down on it, and it gets clearer and clearer, into the mirror of and the mirror of reality, and so to shift that, you definitely have to start focusing on God doing the work, not you doing the work. That's part of that old shift, that the old man thought that you needed to do the work, the old slave, matrix mind, that you as the slave, well, I gotta toil in the fields and make shit happen, and sacrifice and grind, and be tormented and everything else. It's like, you gotta do what you gotta do. but moving forward in the new creation that you are receiving the blessing. God's already blessed you. It's already happened. You just need to receive it. And part of receiving it is shifting from, maybe anger, maybe wrath, doubt, is a big one. It's just not believing that these things are even real. Because the slave mind only believes what it sees, but what it sees is a reflection. So it happened in consciousness long before it happened in the physical world. But it's not until you start connecting the dots, looking backwards, and even in doing that, that has a element of growing your faith, because whether you get what you don't desire or what you do desire, when you connect the dots looking backwards and you see how the worst case scenario manifested, because that's what you were thinking about, that's what you were afraid of, that's where your faith was put. Your faith was in the doubt. Your faith was in, no, this is probably not going to happen. But standing in a gratitude state is like getting to a knowing. It's not blind faith, it's knowing based on this process of growing your faith. It's like an art, it's a skill, it's something that you can develop, and you are developing it either direction. And so you can either keep developing it in what you don't desire and experience more tormenting things, more fear, more separation, more things that put you more asleep. But as you're being mindful that whatever manifests in the here and now, start connecting the dots looking backwards. What were you thinking about? Did that match what you're thinking about? Are you always right? Is that exactly how you thought it would work out? Is that how it played out? You were scared that they would lose their mobility, and now they have. Oh, you're a fortune teller. Yes, like, why don't you tell yourself a new fortune then? If you're so right all the time. But it's hard for the slave mind that thinks it's so correct all the time, thinks it's right about everything, drawing from past, which was distortion, to try to predict the future to keep itself safe from danger, on a future that doesn't exist either. It's only ever now. So it's like, how are you spending the here and now is how you're spending your life, how you're spending eternity. It's like, wouldn't it be a little bit better to be in a state of gratitude, to experience a day just full of peace by just choosing peace, instead of thinking that, to have peace there needs to be something that from on the outside to give it to you. And you can choose it. You can choose it right now. And that's something to start putting into practice, and realize that as you choose peace, God will do the work to bring peace to you in the way a mirror reflects a smiling face back to you. So it's like you smile, there's a little delay, and that delay gets shorter and shorter as you drop your beliefs in linear time, which is a big part of instant manifestation, is just realizing it's only ever now. And so as you put on how you would feel, in the kingdom of God type thing, if you were in heaven, what would this be like? And also start to realize, the things that that God is within you. So it's like, and God is love, and so when love is in you, how would you feel? It's like everything, that is going on. If you're constantly just in these states of fear, drained, feeling drained is one of the easiest way. You start paying attention to your energy, your spiritual energy, your mental energy, whatever you want to call that. It's just your inner, what, strength, I don't know. It's like, I think everybody might be different on it, but I pay attention to that like it's more valuable than money, because it is. And this whole kind of slave-based beast system is all about harvesting energy, and this problem reaction solution. But even that, I don't think is very conscious. It's a way to manifest, and there might be people that are woke that are trying to like manifest this way, but it's manifesting based on separation, not realizing that you're connected to the other people. So if you want to dominate and enslave others, you in turn become dominated and enslaved. because we're all connected, we're all one, and so that's like you get to experience what you've been imagining. And so if you're imagining evil shit and like hurting other people, it's like that shit's gonna you're gonna fucking whatever, it's gonna come back on you because we're all connected. But learn it the hard way, I don't care. It doesn't make a difference to me. But like yeah, but getting out of like these different like states of bitterness or whatever, it's like you might be going through some shit. Not to say everything has to be, I don't know, rainbows and butterflies and shit, but I have realized through my walk with God that things get better and better and better and better. Years ago, it felt like being in a satanic Truman Show, just with all this fucking upside down shit from the world, and people just almost seeming like they were sleepwalking, parroting just random shit from the TV, all that, and just being hateful and draining, and it's like you couldn't even communicate with them. And a lot of people now have seen that, with the way the people that have really fallen under the spell of the COVID shit were reacting with their fear of death, just making them double down on just being somebody. So I give my whole body to somebody else. Like I'm not even smart enough to make these decisions on my own. I give my whole body to the government to keep me safe from myself. It's like, wow, it's like, obviously someone hasn't read a history book, which, I guess that people perish for the lack of knowledge is what the Bible says, but even in that, it's like God is in those people too, maybe asleep, but God's still in those people, and part of like if you are conscious, if you're awake, is to see God in other people, and not curse them, not to leave those people in like a state of being unconscious, just being slaves and being tormented and everything else. It's more about, oh, I see it, I acknowledge it, I don't have to agree with it, but I'm also not going to get triggered by it. And if they are happy to occupy that state and experience everything that comes with that state, that's God experiencing that state through them. So who am I to say anything about, wanting to change it, wanting to manipulate it so I feel better, but if God brings, people to your awareness, to your space that are like, oh my God, this is awful, I just wish I was better, and that's a totally different situation. That's an opportunity because that's part of yourself looking to be healed as well. And so getting into again, I don't have to do the work anymore. It's God that does the work. Thank God I don't have to do this shit. It's like I don't. And one of the easiest ways to really make that connection is to look within yourself at what is already beyond your conscious control that's happening. Is your heartbeat, your breathing, blinking, digesting, your skin. It's like all of that that it's already being controlled by the subconscious, and the subconscious is just a label that we slap on for something that we don't understand. There are so many people that love to say, well, that's just the subconscious does it. You just dream up this entire realm, all these independent people every night, and it's your subconscious that just does that. And a lot of times we go, well, yep, it's just a subconscious that does that. But it could easily just be looked at again as like a divine thing going on that the world has slapped a label on, that doesn't understand what's going on, and wants to create a different narrative about it, which is fine. The world creates different. The world always creates different narratives, and a lot of times it's, you got a third of the population are self-destructing. But it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the design of this place. Because even in the people that are self-destructing, they're not separate from God. God is still within them. And so on some level, this theater that's playing out, and because what happens then too is, as you elevate your state of consciousness, the people that you're seeing reflect that change of consciousness too. So it's like, if you're starting to see a lot of people self-destructing, you start to see a lot of ego bullshit, drama, so it's a good sign that you have drifted into that state, and now you're seeing that reflection. So it's like, don't ever blame anybody. There's only one person to change, and that's yourself, and how you're interpreting things, the story you're telling yourself, the narratives, and whether or not you're starting to shift into states of gratitude, by just realizing that God does the work. Because as you start to realize that God does the work, well, it makes it a lot easier to feel peace right now. Even though, you don't need anything outside of you to give you the peace. It's a mental decision now, just not to worry about it. There's things that I can do. There's things I can't do. A garden's a good example. I can plant the seeds. I can make sure there's weeds aren't choking the life out of my tomatoes. I can't make a tomato. I can't make it grow. I can't keep it healthy. I can't. There's things I can do. I think. It's like, I believe there's things I can do. But then there's things that the subconscious, the plant does. That this code that just perpetuates life, that keeps your heart beating, that fights diseases, that heals cuts and wounds. It's weird when you really stop and think about it, but it's normal. It's normal and natural, and realizing more and more so states of gratitude is important. And to remind yourself, because I know I can go, I don't know, 80% of the day and just blah, not really feeling gratitude, not really feeling peaceful, but not really suffering either. Just kind of just feeling just like I'm not even paying attention to what's going on, around me, or taking it seriously. It's just trying to keep a still mind, and it's not like trying to. It's just like I don't want to focus on anything right now. I just want to just do one thing at a time. Not going to worry about what could happen, what didn't happen, what should happen, what doesn't happen, but realize that God unfolds the day, and God's unfolding it perfectly. I don't got to do the work. I don't got to jam this message down anybody's throat. I don't got to do a bunch of marketing and bullshit. It's like people will be led that are on a kind of vibe that it makes sense. They got the ears to hear it, and it makes sense. But for most, a lot of people, you hear shit like that, they just become triggered, and that guy's so fucking crazy. It'll be fun. Well, the funny thing is, they're so fucking crazy, and then they just start acting crazy and ridiculous. It's like, oh, I'm crazy. It's like you're becoming hysterical because of words. It's like, you're that weak that you can't take a word. Oh, it's like telling a 6-year-old Santa Claus doesn't exist, and they fucking become hysterical. Like dealing with children in a lot of different ways, but yeah, I just wanted to kind of drop that kind of that information, that point of view, that perspective. Hopefully, it gives something positive to think about at least. Hopefully, it helps you shift into more states of gratitude, less states of fear and anxiety and worry and torment and drama. But as you realize that God is within you, that you are connected, you're one with, that's the other part of it, is like you're one with. And it's easy to realize that when you realize that your heart's been beating. You didn't have to think about it. You didn't have to do the work of like squeezing this pump all the time. You don't have to do the work of like, I gotta breathe, I gotta blink, I gotta do all this shit, or I gotta create saliva. It's like, the more that you realize that it already is existing this way, it already is, God already is, and you become one with, you become connected by just acknowledging that, being thankful, being grateful that that it is already like that. I mean, you're already blessed. It's like, the more that you're able to realize that through gratitude and feel it, that makes it real, because you believe the unseen more than the seen, and then God rewards that state. And the faster, or not really the faster, but the more that you let go of the belief of like, wow, this is a difficult manifestation, it's going to take at least I don't know, 3 months, 6 months. It's like, put on that state of being now through gratitude that God's already, yeah, who cares how long it takes if you can occupy the energy of like it already exists. It's because so much of that mindset comes from our slave mind of like, well, um let me see how to say this. It comes from this, like, this needs to happen so I have peace. Basically, like, how it works out. It's like, well, I just need a whole pile of money so I feel safe and peaceful. It's like, or you can feel safe and peaceful, and that state has a correspondence in the mirror of reality. It's like it's the law of reversibility. So it's like if your fear and thoughts of separation and your belief in the fear can unconsciously draw the undesirable to you, well then the law of reversibility shows you then, oh well, if I kept worrying about this person getting worse and worse and worse, or I kept worrying about this progression of this deterioration or whatever, this all these godless types of states, I keep worrying about that manifesting, and then it does because you believe in it, you believe in the separation and fear. Well, then the reverse is also true. So it's like, okay, well, if my negative spiraling can spiral me this way, well, I can spiral upwards just the same. And it's in realizing, by growing your faith, that that's even an option, but realizing that then God spirals you up. You don't have to do the work. It's going to come easy, effortlessly. It's just you're going to be compelled to go through these things, and you already are compelled to do it. I mean, it's just like, it's already like that. The only difference is, oh, I'm going to tell myself a fearful story of while this bridge of incidents is happening, or I'm going to acknowledge that I don't know what's going on really, other than that God's in control. God's doing the work here. Maybe it's through me, maybe it's through others, but if I have to take an inspired action, and by inspired action, I don't mean it can be in all sorts of ways, but an inspired action could be. Let me give an example. Like, you be compelled. Like, say you're going to your job or something. You stop at a gas station. Your car doesn't start for some reason. Somebody helps you. You start asking for help or something. If somebody comes over to you, gives you help, that leads to this, that leads to that. Next thing you know, something manifests, and that state got fulfilled. It's like you move from going from a state of suffering to feeling blessed through this bridge of incidents that you didn't really have any control over. But you were compelled to take these actions because it's like, oh, what am I going to do? I'm on the side of the road. I gotta change my tire. It's like, or I got to call somebody that does. I mean, that's the inspired action. It's like you'll be compelled to do it. It won't be like, well, what if I miss it? What if I don't? What if I miss my shot? What if I do this? What if I? All those what ifs are coming from your slave mind. It's like, what if? What if? That implies that you have to figure out the game plan, that you have to be in control of it, that you have to figure everything out. When the shift into the Christ mind, who you are in Christ, your new identity, realizes and recognizes that you are one with your Creator, and that God does the work. What goes on within you, that creative power, that supply, it will be supplied to you. And the only thing left to do is just be thankful that it's going to work out in a great way. Your old slave mind wants to go, well, when this happened in the past, when you were still a slave, it was a tormenting, terrible experience. But when it happens now, under your new mind, and realizing that, if you're compelled to do some things, it's playing out perfectly. You did a perfect job. Exactly what needed to be done was done, and God does the work from here on out. You get to watch that. And be grateful for it, and by grateful, it's more of like a relief, like a relieving sensation. Even if it's dealing with my dog. I mean, this has been going on for fucking weeks of drama, but not to look at that as as like a failure, because it's led to a lot of realizations on healing, and a lot of the symbiotic relationship, where it's like it's easy for you to take on a bunch of pain and suffering and torment, but when it's like your best friend and they're dealing with pain, suffering, and torment, it's like instantly it's not okay. It's like not okay with you. It's like I was clipping my dog's fingernail or toenails, and I accidentally clipped just a little bit too much, start bleeding and shit. And it's like that feeling of like, oh my god, I don't want to hurt you. It's like, it's like you don't want to hurt your best friend. And Jesus says that you are his friends, his family. Why would Jesus want to hurt you? That's you wanting to hurt you. That's your old slave mind wanting to self-destruct and hurt yourself. So it's like, stop letting that be your guide. Ask God what to do, and you already know the answers within you. And so with that being said, I think I'm going to bounce. So I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing, all the social networking things. I appreciate your spiritual support and your financial support. Thank you for that. And until the next now, God bless.